Good afternoon and welcome to the Midtown Redevelopment Area Board meeting for Tuesday, May the 8th, 2012, located here in Daytona Beach, Florida, City Hall Commission Chambers. I would like to start by roll call, please.
Ms. Benjamin? Ms. Simonette? Here. Mr. McGee?
Here.
Mr. McMillan?
Mrs. McMillan present.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Mr. Julie?
Here.
Ms. Hurd?
Here.
Mr. Williams? Ms. Jameson? Chairman Hyde?
Here. We have a quorum. Oh, thank you very much. I'm going to like for everybody to please rise for our invocation, followed by our pledge of allegiance. We're going to ask Ms. Simonette to lead the invocation. And while we're doing our invocation, please keep in mind Ms. Benjamin's mother is real ill, so that's why she's not here. So make sure she has an excused absence. And Ms. McMillan will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Is that our meeting go to the development and fine city, and that we can make this area a better place. We ask this in your name.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. As one of the changes to the board, what we're going to do, because this is an important item. Oh, I'm sorry. I need approval of the minutes for April the 10th. Are there any changes?
None.
Someone did the pledge.
Can you please make that change? Ms. Simonette did the pledge on our April 10th meeting. Are there any other corrections? If not, may I have a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes with the said corrections.
It's been motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Motion carries. Next on item, we have a staff report, which is item number 6. We're still doing item number 6. We're going to change that with item number 7, which will bring up the action item, which is Development 2011-093, and that's the Village of Halifax 2 final site plan approval. And following that, we will go into the staff report. With that in mind, Mr. Bryant.
Good afternoon, Board.
Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
This is a site plan DEV 2012-033, villages at Halifax 2, Daytona Village Apartments. You should have your the staff report in there. I'm going to go over a few details, and then we'll go ahead and entertain questions about the site plan. This is one that's come before you for I think at least 2 times. One for the concept site review. The last time they came as a courtesy to update you on the different things that had happened since they came before for the concept plan review. But this is the project is the Daytona Villages at Halifax. The address is 206 North Key Street. The board is being requested to propose the site plan as required by Article 4, Section 8.2 of the Land Development Code. Review application pursuant to the appearance standards for the redevelopment area as required by Article 3, Section 5.1 of the Land Development Code. The reviewing body is the Midtown Redevelopment Board. This is a request by Mark Dowse on behalf of Mark Dowse and Associates Incorporated on behalf of the Daytona Beach Housing Authority for final site approval of a multifamily development located in the Midtown redevelopment area. This site is located at 206 Keith Street. The project is proposing 70 2- and 3-bedroom rental units and three-story garden style buildings. There will be a small building with a leasing office and other ancillary amenities, including a laundry room, computer lab, and community center. Like I said, we've been through the site plan before. At the last meeting, it was a request by the board for the chair to meet with the TRT. At that time, we did meet with the TRT, and we were able to clear up some of the issues that we had before with the site plan. Based on those reviews with the TRT and the community, they did have a community meeting as requested by this board. If you look at your plans, there are two entrances to the site now. One is off Key Street, the other one is off Caroline Street. Where the staff is recommending that to the Midtown Board that you approve the site plan for the project known as Villages at Halifax, located at 206 Key Street, subject to resolution of outstanding technical review team comments being addressed. One of those, or at least two of those comments were, one was the retention pond being have a flow that the water shoots up. That was one of the things, and also that the second, the entrance off of Caroline Street be one of the contingents upon this being approved.
Before we go any further, Charles, I'm gonna ask if are there any comments from the audience before we let the board come forward. Does anybody wish to speak to this item? If so, please state your name and address for us, please, for the record.
My name is Attorney Reginald E. Moore. I live at 209 North Keach Street. And my comments are the same as it was the last time. I have the same basic concerns about the additional traffic that we're going to have on Keach Street. I've looked at this plan, and this plan, everybody in this apartment complex could exit Keach Street. The way the other development was in the last, before we tore it down, when it was in existence, at least only about one third to one half of the exits could come onto Keach Street. The other had to go off of Caroline Street. My concern is also the same as it was. I was at the community meeting, and I did meet with the technical people. Was that again? There's going to be a dead end at Caroline Street. I don't understand why this development did not go from Caroline to Caroline. I mean, from not Martin Luther King, but Mary McLeod Bethune to ISB. Why did it have to exit on Keach Street? We all know that if you've been on the site, there's about 5 houses from the development site going to International Speedway. And the only reason that was not an exit we've been through before is because of the times that this first project was built, that it had to exit. They would not exit into that particular community. And if you look at the number of houses and all the way through from from Mary McLeod to ISB, very few people would be affected. And why we don't have that exit, again, it befuddles me. Most of the people who in fact will occupy this development will be coming from referrals from the housing authority, for the most part, just like the other 2 projects that they did. you know, I don't know why it was done this way. I mean, first we were told that it was because of fire, technical people. And nobody said that they required that the exit be onto Keith Street, or that it was more desirable. It was just why it happened, I don't know. We heard that there were two reasons they wanted an exit on Keith Street initially. That was, number one, it was because it was more visible. There'd be more visibility on Keith Street. Number two is that they were saying it was because of fire, technical, you couldn't get fire trucks or something in there. Well, if you look at Keith Street, there are no fire hydrants on Keith Street between International Speedway and Mary McLeod Bethune. But you do have a fire hydrant right there on the property on Caroline Street. Then when we look at if we're going to have a lot of kids in this area, wouldn't a bus be better if a school bus ran down Caroline Street where they could go all the way? It wouldn't hold up anybody. It wouldn't hold up traffic in the mornings or in the afternoons. It would be safe. I mean, you could have the bus stop within the development itself. Why these issues were not addressed, I don't know. They did address the issue about, as the Midtown board, I think the plan required 2 exits. That was addressed when initially there was only 1 exit. But while the exit was on Keith Street, our concerns remain the same. It remains a matter of traffic. That's what remains. And the way that this plan really was developed can easily be, they could close off the exit to Caroline if in some future, for whatever reason, or restrict the exit where all of the entrance and exits would have to be on Keith Street. Not like the other before. The other plan, there had to be exits off of Caroline Street. Over I believe from half to 2/3 of that development exited Caroline Street. Not anymore. And those are the concerns that we have. You know, as I said, we want the project. We don't have any problem with the project. But we know that not one stone has been built, no underground utilities have been laid. Why they determined that they want it this way and only this way befuddles me. But at the same time, I would ask this board if this is the plan they're talking about, to reject it. Because certainly those of us who have interest, and if there is a problem as it relates to the traffic, well, you know, there are other remedies that we also have. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moore. Are there any other comments on this project from the audience? If not, we're going to obtain board comments. Start with you, Ms. McMillan. If you have any, if not, we'll. But excuse me, before you start, I'm gonna probably answer a lot of questions up front first, before we can move on. The meeting that was conducted, that Mr. Moore is talking about, it was a very thorough meeting. I attended the meeting. Commissioner Reynolds attended the meeting. Charles, Reed, staff, and along with Mr. Dowse and the developer. The meeting, in my opinion, it was needed. We did get a lot of questions answered. Some of the things what Mr. Moore has already stated, and I may repeat some of them, but when we was looking at the entrances coming into the property, at that present time, there was only one entrance, and that one entrance would have drove all the traffic onto Keith Street, which was a big concern of the board and mine. So when we started looking at the development as a whole, we had the opportunity to hash out every comment that Mr. Moore just stated. And his concerns are the same concerns I still share. But when I'm sitting up looking at the solutions, how do we solve or come to some type of happy medium in order to keep the project is what we start shifting and focusing on. And some of the things that we sit back and looked at, and I will tell you all this, I even met again on this yesterday for about 2 hours because my mind, I just wasn't satisfied with the answers and the different things that we were getting. So they finally did agree, and that's why you received emails on receiving putting the second exit in off of Caroline. That particular exit, when it comes down into the different phases of it, it would drive the traffic back into North Carolina Street. So that there was one way that we sit back and was trying to come to a medium on this particular plan. Some of the other things that we addressed was, okay, why do we have that exit on Key Street? So I was not for that exit being on Key Street. What I was looking at is, okay, let's open this thing up. But as I did the research, called the school board to ask what type of access would the buses have coming down there. And the reply, the message that I got was that they would have a problem because they like to go to different lights on when they're running the buses dealing with the school. So I said, okay, that makes sense to me, but I had to check. And anybody can call the school board routing department, and they will tell you why they try to have buses that go to main streets. Stay on the main streets. So that answered that part for me. Another thing was, why are we setting this development dealing with the retention pond? Why did we move it to the back of the complex? Well, actually, that was a good place to put the retention pond, because what it's going to do is relieve some of the flooding off of Harney and that different area, because now all that the drainage is tied in to this particular retention pond, which will hopefully help relieve some of the drainage over on Harney and Caroline Street because of the elevation of the property. So I'm like, okay, we can go for that. Then the commissioner brought up, well, we don't want mosquitoes and different things sitting in the pond, so that's why they came up with the air filtration that they asked the developer to do, which that'll put a fountain in. Now you don't have mosquitoes just nesting because the water will always constantly be turning. So I said, okay, that sounds fine. And I asked, well, why do we have the building sitting over here on this exit by Key Street? Well, the reason that they were doing that is because the wires that run across the project itself cannot be moved because they're the high-powered wires. So therefore, you don't want to put living and kids and different people by wires. So that's why you've seen the other building turned that direction. Another question I asked was, okay, why don't we do 2 phases on this? Well, they couldn't do 2 phases because now it becomes 2 permits, which will cut the project in half and basically cut the project off, which now we will have an empty space sitting there. So a lot of questions were answered and asked technically, and I even went back, I called and had another meeting yesterday just to make sure that we are going to do the right thing. And at the end of the day, it's a hard decision, but we have to do what's best for the community. And when I sit back and was weighing the difference of the how this project would affect the community, well, I came up with more positive than I did negative. So with that in mind, if you have any other questions, we'll get it. But I believe we answered all the questions. Did we solve all of them? No, we did not solve them all. But at the end of the day, did we do the majority of them? And I'm going to say, yes, we did. So when you're sitting back looking, if you have some questions, like I say, we workshopped this, we talked about it. If you have some questions, let's stick to what we're here to do and go from there. So with that in mind, hopefully that explained everything from the meeting. If I missed something, Reed or Charles or Mr. Dowse, just let me know. But I think I covered it all, and Mr. Moore had covered it all. So with that in mind, Ms. McMillan, any questions?
construction-wise, cost-wise, what would it cost the project for that Caroline Street to run straight through? I mean, you've given us the information for it to come all the way through the project.
That's out of my realm when it comes to dealing with the cost, because that's something that I don't think we really asked, but at the same time, if we sitting back, that's not on my approval checklist, but I don't know. And I don't know how it would affect what we're sitting to look at when it comes to that. I know they was talking about the utilities, and there's one major pole that was sitting, if you go look at the site, that sits right in the right of way where the street would come straight through, from all the indications that I've asked. And then they were the piping and different things when it comes to putting the retention in, because of the way that the property and the elevation is, that would cost them more too. So cost effective wise, I would imagine, because I don't have that information, but I would imagine cost wise it would cost more, because you have to build the elevation up in order to make that happen. So you might have to build more swells, and it might affect the retention areas and different things like that.
And that was my main concern when this came before us. I stated that you have a residence on Oak and Keach, that if they access this entrance exit on Keach, that will be a constant flow 24 hours a day of people flashing lights at night. Mm-hmm. And I notice a lot of homes that are built on intersections where people have to stop and turn, that has to be, I mean, I guess it would be a problem to the resident with a constant light, once it gets dark, because it's in a traffic flow. Does
that one happen?
Visually, Keach, how far over is Oak from Keach Street with this project?
When we during our conversation, we asked that why did they move the street over? Well, because of the new setbacks, that because they are totally rebuilding, they tore things down. The previous setback was only maybe like 8 feet that offset the coming in, but once they tore it down, the new setback required to be 150 feet from the actual property line. So what happened was, when they moved it up that 150 feet, they also will have to move one of the small utility poles, and all that will have to go underground.
Okay, my next question is this. When you said it came to traffic, you spoke of fire, no hydrants on Keach, but there's one on Caroline. My concern is, and it's always safety, when a unit is called to this complex. I know we're high tech with GPS and everything. When they come in, considering Keach and this traffic flow is it's almost like a circle. So they will be able to access this property from Caroline and Keach.
At this present time, the way that the changes that were made, and that in order for the project to be approved, and that the second exit would be now on Caroline, which on that back phase by the retention pond, if you're looking at your different at the site plan that they just gave us with the changes, you'll see where they have a interest in the back, which will pull more traffic off of from the back. Two units will most likely exit from the back onto Caroline, and then which will allow them to access up to Mary McLeod Bethune, and go either left or right that way.
So that brick wall that runs across the back of that property, the retention pond will be back there up against that brick?
Yeah, they will be putting a new brick wall in the back over there, and on this here particular side where the retention pond area will be. Mm-hmm. It will be a new wall going along that
So getting back to the issue of traffic with emergency vehicles. I understand Mr. Moore's point of pulling that street straight through, because once you get into this property, you have to come in and come around again. But if it's been technically mapped out with the traffic, Mr. Markham, he includes that in with emergency vehicles and everything.
What had actually happened when it was initially stated, I think it was misstated. And that's why we were able to sit back and reach a compromise, because when you're dealing with safety, that I believe it would have been a problem, and it was the consensus of the board that it would have been a problem if they only had one exit in and one exit out. Now, by opening up that back exit, what it does is it allows, if you know where your fire station is set, if it's one on Nova Road, and it's also one, the next nearest one would be down here on Orange Avenue. So either way, you could have two fire engines coming from both directions at the same time and still enter. It just depends on where, which location is at.
Okay.
Ms. Eminent.
I'm okay, I just wanted to like the wall, you're gonna put the wall back up, that's just up for sound barrier, right?
Well, the wall, and Mr. Dowse, help me, correct me if I'm wrong on this. The west wall that's currently up there now, well, that wall, did you say it was being replaced?
No, that wall stays. It does need to be cleaned and painted and made to look attractive, but it's a solid block wall, and it will stay.
Now, on the east side of that retention pond, will a block wall go along there, or is that the vinyl fencing?
Well, along the east side of the property, along Keach Street, there'll be a new block wall constructed with stucco and columns with landscaping in front of it. Between the parking and the pond, that will remain open. There'll be a fence in there, but you'll be able to see through that fence. Along the perimeter of the property, we're required to have a fence that you can't see through.
Right, and that's what I think Ms. Simonette's question is on that
On the south side.
on the south side. I'm sorry, the southeast.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a wall in the back of that by the retention. Mr. McGee, you had any questions?
None.
Mr. Wilburn?
Yes, sir. A couple of questions.
Turn on your mic.
I'm just curious, you mentioned when you talked to the school board that they'd have an issue because of they want their buses to be routed to certain lights. My question is, how would, since there isn't a light at International and Keach, how would that affect the routing?
From what I was told, if they came on Key Street, the buses were able to make that turn and actually go over to Oak Street to utilize the light because of traffic. And if they was going north, they can go up to the traffic light at Mary McLeod Bethune, and they can go north-south, east or west, and still obtain a light on Nova Road. So.
Okay. Another question. Are there speed bumps on Key Street right now?
Yes, that was addressed a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. I just couldn't remember. Two more questions. So both entrances will be able to be entered and exited.
Correct, and there would be no gate on that other exit.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a 24-hour exit, all day and all night.
Okay. One more question. The computer lab, is that going to be functional?
Now you asked me something outside of my realm.
Yeah, that's not a part of the site.
I'm
plan
pretty
either.
sure they putting it in there, so I imagine it's for the residents. But keep in mind that we had the Midtown Cultural Center that hopefully we'll have some computers in that right up the block.
Well, I was just curious because if you're gonna have a computer, if you're going to have a computer lab, you know, to service, you know, the occupants that are going to live there, the residents that are going to live there. I was just wondering if it was going to be functional or just simply it's going to be a building.
You know,
He's here.
Mr. Dowse.
I can try and answer that. I can tell you that the architects labeled it on the plan as a computer lab, and that would tell me that it would be open and available to the residents of this complex. So it would be in the clubhouse building would be where that would be located.
It still kind of leaves me. I mean, is it going to be functional as a computer lab? Are there going to be computers? Or I mean, that's my question.
I would have to assume that if they call it a computer lab, it would have to have computers or it wouldn't be very functional.
Okay, that was my question.
And we could certainly take that back to them, that the computer lab would need to have computers in it.
Well,
Mr. Chair, we do have someone here from the Housing Authority that is in charge of those centers on the different properties. I know that's outside of what we're dealing with here, but I think he could answer Mr. Wilburn's question, Mr. Pierre Lewis.
But no, hold up. We'll come back to it. But right now, let's finish. You had any other questions?
no, that was my last question.
Okay, Ms. Hurd.
I was still looking at Key Street, the entrance there. Will that be enlarged whereby it would be two-way traffic or what?
Currently, the project will be designed with two entrances, one on Keach and one on Caroline. Both those entrances will be two-way. You can either choose to enter or leave from each one. Neither exit will be gated, so they'll both remain open.
Okay. And also looking at the Caroline Street, the village and everything, and the wall.
There'll be a fence along all property perimeters, and where there's a driveway, the fence will not go through. The drawing that you're probably looking at, which is the dimension plan sheet C2 that shows the driveways, what this drawing is intended to show is with heavy lines where the new driveway would go. So it's kind of superimposed upon the current plan. There will be no fence across the driveway itself. It will remain open.
I still personally wish that there could be an exit. North Carolina Street can be utilized more, even with the school buses and everything. It will help the entire community there. It will help the entire community. Mm-hmm. Less traffic, and MMBB being a throughway, that's where most people probably would be entering and exiting because of the commercial properties also around.
Well, I think the good thing about the way the plan's been modified is any resident in this project can choose to go straight to Caroline Street. There's no requirement that they use Keach. So if they're heading to the north to go to Martin Luther King Street, they can very easily, or Mary McLeod Bethune Street, they can very easily take the Caroline exit. So they really have a choice. If they decide that they want to head to 92, instead of having to go north and then all the way around the block, they could go straight to Keach and take a right and go straight to 92. So it really gives them the option of doing either choice.
And I'm also concerned about the hydrants also. Mm-hmm. Would there be a hydrant placed on Key Street?
Well, actually, they had us place the hydrant within the development. So we have a new hydrant being placed pretty much centrally located in the development, and that was where the fire department requested that we place that.
Where is that?
That would be...
Get them revised plan.
If I can approach. hydrant would be located right around in here. They wanted it in this house.
Okay,
And then also, all the buildings will be sprinkled.
hope so.
Which,
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ivy, but, thank you.
You're welcome. Dr. Jameson?
I asked before, and if I missed it, let me know, but I'm very concerned about a development that is being built for families that does not include a play area.
well,
It's
actually,
on this sheet.
yeah,
Yes,
actually
you
it does. And there's a color graphic. Let's see if that got in your package. It's over by the clubhouse.
It has a picnic area and,
whole
tot lot.
Oh. This is the one that's near the community center,
That-
away from, so you have to come downstairs, go near the, which building?
Near
And
the,
This is the only play area.
this is the primary designated play area. I mean, there's open space, a little bit of open space throughout the development, but this will be, improved with the play center that you see here.
Okay.
And it'll also have it's a padded type rubber surface under it, so it's a safe surface, but it's also handicap accessible.
And this was added since the last time.
That we did not have details of the play area. We knew we were going to have one, but the equipment had not been selected and so forth. And this is a pretty nice package that they came up with.
I think that was my basic concern in terms of, not having immediate
Sure.
area, because it looks like the only place they were gonna play was in the parking lot. And, I'm good with that then. I'm hearing a lot about the Carolina and North Keith and why you cannot redirect traffic, and I still don't understand why you have to send most of the, assume that half of the traffic will split up and go in two different ways. You're assuming that, right? That one will go,
That would be a fair assumption that it'd be
No.
roughly 50-50.
but in terms of assuming that, suppose everybody decides that they're going to go North Keach,
Mhm.
each and every time. Is there any possibility that maybe at certain times that it can be closed off? Like put a gate there to close it off, so during the day, particular school buses and stuff, they can come and go. But at a certain time of night, 7 o'clock or whatever it is, because of this location, just close it off. Can that be done? Is that a solution?
Well, I think right now the entrance off of Keach was one that was primarily recommended by public safety because you can approach it from two different directions.
So public safety don't stay there.
So
Now that they know that there's an issue, I'm just saying, is that a possibility that a street can be closed off at a certain time of night? You can't go that way.
that would have to be reviewed with public safety and so forth.
I just want to know, is that a solution? Is that a solution to this problem?
That would cause a fire hazard.
That would cause a fire hazard?
I think,
Yes, ma'am.
excuse me, I think it was a legitimate question, but I think one of the answers probably would be that that's something that the developer would have to answer because that is a condition. But what she's asking is, one of the things we wanted to make sure was that both of the exits remain open 24/7. But what Dr. Jameson is proposing, that if Key Street, in order to cut down the night traffic, could it be closed at night to force everybody to go to use Carolina Street? Is that what you're saying? And I think that's what she's probably asking. But they're not putting any gates. From my understanding, there was not going to be any gates on this particular development.
That's correct.
And one of the reasons why there wasn't going to be any gates because of the amount of traffic that goes in and out, they constantly be broke. Like out there at Westwood, one of those developments out. But that is a great question that was not asked. So, you know, how to address it at this particular time, all I know is no gates being proposed for this particular development. But if it was some gates, then of course you could close it from, if it was from 8 to.
You can only have one way in and one way out. That's not a fire hazard.
Well, on gated?
In gated communities, you only one.
No, what I'm saying is they, from my understanding, there are no gates on this particular project at all. There are entrances, but no gates.
Well, what I'm saying is there's a lot of concern about Keith Street
Most definitely.
by the people who live there.
Most definitely.
Okay. To me, it will not require a whole lot of extra money. This, you know, to the people who run the community center, whatever it is, that at certain times of the day you close off that particular thing or whatever you close it off with, and it just doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of money involved with closing off the street at a certain time of night. Maybe I don't understand.
Mark, one of the things we could do is, can we make sure we ask the developer that question and try to get it back to staff, hopefully within 24 hours, because it's a great question.
We can do that.
I would like to make sure we note that to read as a condition. Mr. Tooley?
Yes. After reviewing everything with the site plan and the things that have been done that actually are not required by law to be done, I think that the developers and Mr. Doust have shown some very good and they went through the process of trying to please everybody. We know that anything that we do, we ain't gonna please everybody. And based on what we've heard and based on the notes that have been written by the fire department, the landscape architecture, the engineering architecture, and all the rest of staff that we have the reviews on, I would like to move, Mr. Chairman, that we accept and approve this site plan.
One of the things it's been motion second, but before we go to vote, at the end of the day, like Mr. Tooley just said, it's not the best program, but there are some other underlying conditions that we sit back and looked at also, and one of the questions were funding an issue. And this is a phased project. Let me make that perfectly clear. It's a phased project, so the project could be phased in like a two-phase project. And one of the things that they're trying to do, which will address the project itself, is get phase one completed and get it in the ground. And that's where you put in all your retentions, ponds, your different fire safety pipes and everything else, which pertains to your drainage. So when you're sitting back looking at that, one of the things that I'll do on this here, because I know this is a very touchy development at this point, but I think they did go through a lot of steps. I think the public really came in and made sure that their voice was heard. I think that we came back and tried to do the right thing at the end of the day, is to do the right thing. And I think if you look at it that way, you do the right thing at the end of the day. That's one thing I done learned through this whole process. So with that in mind, Madam Clerk, will you do a roll call vote, please?
Simonette?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I would like to add those two conditions that we talked about.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Right, right.
Ken, can you back your motion out a minute? What we need to do, because if you're gonna do the motion need to be made, that on the condition of, a fountain pond, the pond has a fountain, that the second drive be added, and that the condition to be checked on dealing with the, gate closure on Key Street at night. Is that what I'm hearing?
No.
Yes.
What I'm saying is based on what was in this review,
Right, I understand that, but
with the conditions that are in here.
right, but as another condition, because we agreed to this in the meeting and they left it off of the staff report,
Okay.
is that a fountain be added to the retention pond, that a second drive be added in the back, and we're asking about the gate being closed at night, maybe from 9 to 5 on Key Street. That's something that,
Okay. So we're saying that if they can add the gate to be closed at night, is
Well-
what would be in the motion.
he's gonna have it, we're gonna find out if we can do that first on the condition. And then we'll get the staff to see how to deal with that. But is that what you're saying, Dr. Jameson? I just want to make sure that, right, look at the possibility. Okay, I just want to make sure that the motion is worded correctly. Is it worded correctly now, Mr. Turner?
Well, right now, does the applicant agree to these additional conditions?
Well, let me break it down to the two sets of conditions. The fountain and the additional entrance we agree to. We also agree to look into the possibility of a gate. I can't agree that we can put a gate in, but we can certainly ask the question if that could be part of the plan. But it would be up to the discretion of the developer on whether or not that would be done.
Okay. Right now, there's already a motion and a second, so if somebody would like to withdraw or...
I will amend the motion
Right.
Okay.
to include the conditions that we just mentioned.
Okay. And now we need a new second.
Okay, at this present time, Madam Clerk, will you do a roll, please? Roll call vote.
Mr. McGee?
Yay.
Ms. McMillan?
I have a question.
Wait a minute.
Out of order.
Yeah, for point of clarity. We can't really go back yet because we're in the process of voting.
But can I make a motion that we withdraw the motion, let me ask my question, put it back up, because I need to get an understanding about something that Mr. Dowse just said before I make my vote.
Are we allowed to do that?
I think the proper procedure is to go ahead and finish the vote. She can ask her question, get the information, and if she wants to make a motion to reconsider and change the motion, then that we can do it that way.
Does that answer your question for you? Because I want the question to come to the floor, but I just want to make sure we're in order on bringing it to the floor.
So she can abstain.
I don't want to vote
Abstain.
and then get an understanding,
Well-
and it may change my vote.
Let me clarify. Per Florida statutes, you have to vote unless you have a financial conflict. However, what you can do is vote, ask your question, and then make a motion to reconsider if you want to change your vote. So it is possible to get the information and then try to reconsider what you've done, the decision.
No.
Mr. Joy?
Yes.
Ms. Hurd?
Abstain.
We need, if somebody's abstaining, you need to file a Form 8B and state what your conflict is. The conflicts that allow you to abstain are financial, whether you have an interest in this property.
Okay, then, no, I don't have an interest in that particular property. No.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Ms. Brown? Jameson?
Yes.
Chairman Ong?
No. It's 4-4. So what happens?
Motion fails. The item has not been approved. Miss, would you like to?
Oh, you want your motion with consideration?
No, for a question.
Question.
Can I make a motion to
Yes.
question? I'd like to make a motion to question Mr. Dowse concerning the conditions that were added to the project.
I don't believe you need to make a motion. You can ask your question.
Okay, I just
And
asked,
then-
do I need to make a motion?
And then after that, we'll.
Mr. Dowse,
Yes, ma'am.
the three conditions that we added to this site plan were for the fountain,
Correct.
the question about the gate that would be installed after a certain period of time to the Keith Street exit, and the third one, when you said second entrance,
Yes, ma'am.
were we speaking of going back to the city to make that Caroline second entrance, or were we talking about the one in the back?
The entrance that we're showing, the second entrance out of the project onto Caroline Street is part of the plan now. In other words, we have agreed to that second entrance. So the plan currently has two entrances and exit.
Okay. What is this?
That's just going to be the parking lot.
Okay, so they would do.
So should you approve this project tonight, we can talk about that. It will have a fountain, and it will have two entrances and exits.
Based on this additional information, if anyone who voted no would like to make a motion to reconsider, that would be in order at this time.
I'd like to make one statement if I could.
Wait, just a minute. Say that again.
Okay. Well, public comment has closed. Mr. Dowse needs to clarify something, and then if based on this information you just heard, somebody who voted no wants to make a motion to reconsider, that can be done at that time.
Okay, so on the motions, when you're dealing with reconsideration, what was your clarification one more time, Ms. McMillan? What was your question?
I understand now, since Mr. Berger came over and pointed it out to me, because you all kept saying second entrance. He had this. I was basing it on the Caroline project. It was just miswording that I heard from the podium, and I wanted to get a clear understanding on how I was going to vote. So since I understand the three conditions that have been added to go back to staff, do I need to state that I'm not reconsidering my vote? Oh, okay.
So,
I just need to ask a question which would help me vote, but because I could not do that, I voted. Now that I have a clear understanding, my vote stands as is.
are there any other questions?
If I might make a brief statement. At this juncture, if this project is voted down tonight, we basically have, the time frame we've been on is there's approximately $900,000, which was provided for this project that has to be used on this property, spent prior to September. It was a very tight schedule when we even started this project. If this project is turned down and we would have to start over, we don't have time to come back to you and spend those funds. Those funds will most likely have to be returned to the federal government. That has been the time pressure that the project has been on. There is an opportunity to reconsider the vote, to take advantage of those funds. If we don't, unfortunately, we'll have to send them back.
Reed, before we, what I'd like to do is take a short recess, a 5-minute recess, and we'll come back in a few minutes.
Mr. Chair, and as much as he made a statement and he's for it, I think I should be given an opportunity to make a statement also.
There's a difference. He's the applicant, so. Chair,
Okay,
this is your.
here's what I would like to do. Take a 5-minute recess, and we'll come back. Reconvene. Thank you for taking a short break. The one thing I want to do is make sure that we're fair at all aspects on this particular project, because it's very important. So before we took a short break, I'm going to go outside the norm. I'm going to ask that I'm going to give Mr. Moore an opportunity to speak one more time if he chooses.
The residents that I've spoken to on Keith Street, everybody's in favor of this project. Nobody is opposed to the project having public housing. Most of us who moved to Keith Street had public housing exactly where public housing is now and where low-income housing was, that this is supposed to be replaced. We also know that the only reason that this project did not go from Caroline all the way through is because of the mores of the time the original project was built. That was a time when there was segregation, and Caroline, from the project to what was then Volusia Avenue, was a white area that did not want the intrusion of low-income housing. We had an opportunity, the Housing Authority had an opportunity to correct that. When they said high wire lines, do you realize that I have pictures, and I think they have pictures too, how close the high line, when they built those high wires, and how close the other buildings that have been torn down was to that? We talk about Harney Street and where they located the pond. They could have easily, with the way they collect water and run it to it, they could have easily put the pond anywhere in that project they wanted to. Again, I asked a question, and I went to the meeting because we were told that staff or public safety required an exit on Keith Street. I asked that question, and maybe I was wrong. Maybe I misunderstood, but I understood that was not. It was not what a public safety issue. There's no public safety issue if this project ran from Caroline all the way through Caroline. When you get the buses, the bus goes all the way up to the bus route. When they take Keith Street at the light, they go ahead. But when they get to Cypress Street, there's no red light there. If the buses went through the project from the school district, and it amazes me to some extent. I was on the Housing Authority. I was there when we got the project for Hope 6, and one of the things is that the federal government approved Hope 6 because there was a school. There was a school, Bonn Elementary School. That was one of the basic reasons that we were told. But what did they do? They closed it. Where was the Housing Authority? Never spoke again about it, one way or the other. And I have not yet heard why, today, not been given one single valid reason why we needed an exit onto Keach. They said that there was if you go down, if you look at it, there's a right of way on the side, easily could convert the street to have an entrance all the way through Caroline. That's not a valid reason. But still, why is it that we have to have the exit on Keach? Or why is it that we have to have all the property can exit through Keach, or either one? The other project was not that way. You had half of the project at least had the exit on Caroline, and at least had, the way it was originally built, had the exit onto Keach. They could have easily done that. I've been to the meetings. They did add one exit. That's true. They did add one exit. But originally, they weren't going to do that until after we went to the TRT meeting. And after it was determined, from what I understood, was there was no mandate from public safety or anyone else that there be an exit onto Keach Street. Now, if I'm wrong, I misunderstood, because I asked the question. I think this gentleman was present. Mr. Berger was present. And when we asked those questions. So when we come to it and say that we have an exit simply because public safety required it, is a lie, as far as I have been told. Unless they did not give me that information when I asked the question. Because I asked the question.
Can I ask him a question?
Me? I'd be happy to answer your question.
I really don't want to go have a back and forth at this present time. I want to thank Mr. Moore. I wanted to do and back up. Being the chair, it's not an easy position when you're sitting back looking at a lot of at the complex issues. But the one thing, the reason I let Mr. Moore got up and spoke is because anybody who comes up and speak during a process like this, they're taking their time and they care. But at the same time, when we're sitting back looking at how important the issue is, at the end of the day, I said I was going to do the right thing. And right now, for me to do the right thing is to do reconsider my vote. The reason being because I know that the community wants this project. And although I'm not for the exit being on Keith Street, I'm going to have to reconsider my vote because we need this project. Is it the right thing coming off Keith Street? No. And I'll sit there and admit this all day and every day. But at the end of the day, after this project is completed, I hope we don't come back and regret it, that we do approve it. But at this present time, I'm going to reconsider my vote because one of the things that I did hear him say is that the community do want the project. And I don't want to kill it because of dealing with one mistake. So at this present time, I will reconsider my vote.
Point of order. Mr. Chairman, you would then need to would have to present a motion before the floor that would be seconded, and we would go through the voting process again.
Is that how it's done?
Who were the 4 no votes? Maybe
I was one of the no's.
Secretary read that.
Mr. McMillan, Chairman Ivy, Mr. Williams.
Okay. Would someone on the no voting side, other than the chairman, like to make a motion to reconsider this item? Okay. I don't believe it's proper for the chair to make a motion, but I don't know that it's prohibited either. I don't want to take a 5-minute recess, but I guess let the minutes reflect no motion was made. However, Mr. Ivy, if you would like to make a motion, we'll let the record reflect that.
Well, what I would like to do is let's make sure, I don't have a problem taking a 5-minute recess, and let's get it right.
Yep.
I would like the motion to be right. At this present time, we'll take another 5-minute recess.
He can step down.
Make a motion to suspend Robert's rules. Would anyone like to make a motion to suspend
So
Robert's rules?
moved.
But let me ask you this first, too. Could I make a motion and let my vice chair take it? Because I'm going to do the reconsideration on it. So I want to do it legally and do it the right way.
Okay. So someone would like to make the motion?
I so move.
I second.
You voted yes previously? So he can't make the motion. So
It has to be someone in the know.
so somebody should make a motion to waive the Roberts rule, and then we can proceed that way. Is anyone willing to? Dr. Jameson?
The person who makes the motion to, suspend Robert's rule has to be a no vote also?
No, that could be anyone.
Well,
That's what we just did.
Oh, I thought you were doing the reconsider.
No.
We're moving to suspend Robert's rule.
Okay, is there a second?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
No?
Okay. Point of clarification. If we're using Robert's Rules of Order, doesn't the chair have the right to appoint the assistant chair as acting chair so he can make a motion?
Probably, I'm not sure.
Okay, I know civics taught me something.
The motion to reconsider has to be made by somebody who
Right.
made the no, so that's why we're waiving the rule.
Okay. Now he can make.
So now I can make my own motion to reconsider?
Now anyone can make the motion to reconsider.
Okay, I make a motion to reconsider, that the chair be allowed to reconsider his vote.
Second.
I can't do this.
Because we removed Robert's Rules of Order, therefore he can make the motion. We suspended Robert's Rules of
We
Order.
suspended Robert's Rules of Order.
I've seconded the motion.
Now, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays?
Nay.
1 nay.
2 nay.
2 nays. 3 nays. Will you do a roll call vote on this, please?
Mr. McGee? Yes. Mrs. McMillan?
Nay.
Mr. Chilton?
Yay.
Ms. Hurd?
Nay.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Ms. Brown Jameson?
Yes.
Yes.
Say nay or yes?
I said yes.
That's okay, that's what I thought.
Okay, so now, okay. So that motion carries. Now, is that it? Is that it? At this point in time, we will put Robert Rules of Order back and forth.
Okay.
Is there? Go ahead and call the motion.
Okay.
We had a second with Mr. Tooley.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposes?
Nay.
What are we in favor of?
Putting Robert's Rules of Order back into.
Mr. Chair, are we done with this issue?
All right, now we're back as if this had not been voted on at all. So now somebody can make a motion
To do what?
to approve the project with conditions or whatever the board desires.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move that we approve the site plan with the following conditions of putting in a fountain, checking to see if a gate can be put at the entrances to be able to be closed off. Having 2 entrances, and that was it, right?
On Key Street.
Yeah, we're having the gates put in place on Keach to see if it can be cut off.
Well, not on the gates. That was only a condition that the
Right, if it can be.
right, if it could be done, he would get back with staff in a timely manner to see. It's been motion and second. Again, may we have a roll call vote for the approval of project?
Mr. McGee.
Ms. Simonette made the second. So we'd like to have a roll call vote on the action item of development 2011-093, Villages of Halifax 2, final site plan approval.
Any discussion?
Yes.
No.
Mr. Chair, are we done with discussion on this and ready to vote? Because I have a question. And I don't want to have to go through all this withdrawn and all that.
Hold your motion a minute, please.
Okay.
Discussion.
Okay.
Point of discussion.
Mr. Dowse, could you approach the podium, please?
Yes, ma'am.
You come before us quite often, and I'm usually one that, as they would say, kind of brews a fire. Speaking for Denise McMillan and being on this board, we get a lot that comes before us that has to be approved, that the city and staff have said that we should approve. I say this quite often throughout the year. I don't have the privilege to attend the meetings that the chair and vice chair can attend and get thorough understandings about what goes on with the process and the approval. But I keep hearing, because we had this issue with the university to where pressure is put on us that money's been given and it has to be spent and there's a timeline, which personally I think is a tactic to make us vote differently. I want to say that I'm not against this project, but we are doing a lot in Midtown, and I don't care where we go in Midtown, we are going to have to deal with the residents. But I need the board to have the outlook before it hits the Times, the News Journal, or anywhere else, that we don't disapprove. Let me say this, let me speak for Denise, that I don't disapprove, but I want the residents of Midtown to be seriously considered about what goes on in their neighborhoods. And not only is it a benefit for the project that it's being done, but a benefit from the residents that they're heard. And when you start saying all this money's been given, it has to be spent or it has to go back, that makes me feel that we're being forced or pushed, because we still have to live outside this chamber when this meeting is over. And whoever can take it back to the different departments and everything, Denise McMillan wants it to be noted that she has a dire sincere for the community when new development come in.
So noted.
Thank you, Mr. Dowse. There's
You're
no
welcome.
hurtfulness intended. I just want that to be said, because I'm not just going to repeat myself, but thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. At this present time, we do a roll call vote, please.
Simonette,
Yes.
Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Ms. McMillan,
No.
Mr. Tooley,
Yes.
Ms. Hurd,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Brown Jameson,
Yes.
Chairman Ivey.
Yes. So when the project is approved, one thing I want to do at this present time too. Mr. McGee needs to leave,
Right.
so he's going to be excused at this present time.
Thank you.
Another thing we're going to do, just before you leave, Ken,
Yes, sir.
on action item number 8, we're going to move it to next month. Charles and Reed. Okay. So we'll move that.
We need
Action
a
item
motion
number
to
8.
continue that item.
Hmm?
We need a motion for that one.
Can I get a motion to move the action item number 8 to next month's meeting, please?
Mr. Chair. Second.
The motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move that.
I have a question for Mr. Downs before he leaves.
Can we hold it?
I thought he was about to leave.
Yeah, just Ken is about to leave, but what?
I'm not here for this.
Right, you good?
Thank you all.
Have a good night.
Mr. Dobbs, will you leave your number with staff for we can, in case any additional member would like to give you a call, we can move on with the meeting, please. Make sure. We'll get Sean. And if you're still here, we'll do it. But we got to move this. Move on.
Well, I wanted to ask him in the meeting and not over a telephone.
Sean, I'd like to move up the staff report, item number 6.
Good night.
This is Public Works Department. Mr. McLemore, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. We were in the process of going down a list of items with you at the last meeting, and we were basically coming back to address or complete those discussions and then get any other questions you might have. Let me go over a couple of items that you had brought up. You brought up Keach Street speed tables, and I think we have responded on that, and we're able to do that, and we were glad to do it. You had asked about thinking about some type of historical marker or some designation of Midtown, and so we are, as you know, we're in the process now, and it will come forward relatively soon, this whole program of wayfinding in the city, and part of that process is a process of branding, which means setting out specific venues in the city and highlighting those. So we'll be talking about that, how we can brand Midtown in that wayfinding signage program, and I'm sure that you'll have an opportunity to get involved in that, and this should be before the commission about the 1st of June, I think we're shooting for, to get approval on that process. And that's a lot of what these people specialize in doing. And so it'll be a lot of fun to get into that discussion with you and see maybe what ideas we can come up with. You had questions about Nova Road and ISB and that intersection, and asked someone to come, me to bring someone back who can possibly answer your questions on that. And I asked Mike to come back tonight with me, and he's very familiar with that intersection. Can tell you basically what's happening there and answer any questions you might have. And then I'll come back, sorry, with you, Mr. Chairman, and follow up on a couple of items.
Oh, what I would like to do,
Okay.
Mr. McLemore, is let's do this, because I think the one that dealing with ISB is pretty well answered, because that was a federal project, if I'm not mistaken. So basically, I think all the questions have been asked on that. One of the things I would like to do is let the board ask questions if they have any, because I think one of the most important things right now is the conditions of the streets and some of the lighting issues. So if I'm wrong, as I go around the room, that way we'll just speed up the meeting a little bit.
Sure.
Because it's a lot of information that they just got. And one of the things I would like to do is give the board enough time to decipher this information, look it over, and come back with questions. And I think that'll be better, a much better format. And that way they can email stuff to Charles, and you'll already have it. Then you can come back,
Sure.
and do it. And so that's what I would.
However
to
you'd
do.
like to proceed is fine with us.
Okay. So at this present time, we'll start with Ms. Hurd. Did you have any question for Public Works?
No, other than, I'm still asking about the south end of MLK. You know, we have so many puddles, holes there, and nothing is being done, although I know it didn't say that eventually something will be done. But I would like to know, when will it be done?
We are working on that. We are trying to find the right funding solution to do that. And I think a couple of things will happen in the immediate future or near future that's going to help us answer that question. One of the things that we're waiting on is to see what happens with the Tiger 4 grant. If that is not successful, then that opens up another set of options. There are a number of things that are in the stew right now, or the mix, that I think will allow us to get to a answer relatively soon about getting to that project. I want to admit to you that and plead guilty to my comments last meeting when I said the south end of MLK did not need resurfacing. I was wrong on that because we went back and looked at it again, and
I thought it was on the list.
and from Orange Avenue South is going to need some help. So, So we're trying to fund the whole project on MLK, and we'll get there. We'll get there. It may take a little more time, but we'll get there soon. We're looking at several options how to do it. So we will get you an answer on that relatively soon.
I have a question which is a little out of the boundaries of Midtown.
We can't stick with Midtown for now because we're running a little bit behind.
Oh,
You can come see me again.
okay, I'll do that too.
All right.
And you already looking at the project I asked you about the other day. Lane Street, it's been there for 70, 80 years, as long as I've been in town. And, you know, I just don't like the idea that it is one way when apartment buildings are on the west side and the church parking lot on the right side, and those people cannot come down Lane Street just to park. They have to go all the way down to MMBB. It's done. I know the street is small, but after looking at the entire project of the city, the inhabitants or whomever should not have been given those people permission to build homes the way they did. No backyard, no frontage, no nothing. And then make the street one way. I wish something could be done about those two parking lots right there on George Ingram Boulevard. Even if you put up a sign at the end of the drive-in and say begins one way.
I understand.
I'll see you next week.
Okay.
Dr. Jameson. Mr. Tooley.
I want to comment, just simply wanted to say I thank you for these plans with regard to the Orange Avenue project.
You're welcome.
And we thank you for what you're doing to try to help.
Well, we're gonna get there. We're gonna keep working at it. Keep in mind that those are 60% drawings. We would not complete them until we got the grant. So, but they're a long way down the road. But all the basic concepts are in place.
Okay.
Ms. McMillan.
At the last commissioners meeting, when they were, there was a group here, the blind, what group was, the blind center? They were mostly blind people that came up and spoke on behalf of the crosswalks. On this project here, am I understanding that in the 5th clause here, when you say the detection pads, are you speaking of what they were asking the city to do, where they, when it's time for them to cross, they hear this sound that's on the corner of Tuscaloosa and, International and Nova, but they may be crossing from by Amscott, and these devices will be installed to guide them across? Is that what this means right here?
No, ma'am.
Uh-oh.
That's another improvement at that intersection that they had asked for in the past. We're currently working with the Florida Department of Transportation to get those devices installed that they're specifically asking for.
So they're not in this package right now?
Not yet. We are, that's not a final set. We're still negotiating with FDOT to get those in there. We've told them from the beginning or the start of the review process that we wanted that in there, but we're trying to get there. I think it's going to happen. I'll be very shocked if it doesn't, but it's not set solid in stone, so that wasn't why it wasn't included in your project.
But it will be for all of the crosswalks, not just one. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I'm just thinking this side, south, on the Tuscaloosa side.
When you do that on one side, you want to do it on all four corners.
Intersections.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My next question will be not only for the visually impaired, but for people that use the motorized scooters on Nova Road. You're beginning to see people, using them to catch the GO train. When you do the curbs, I don't know what it's called, but will all those curbs have the, it looks like a bubbly?
Yes, ma'am. They'll all have those ramps. They will. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They'll be improved so that they can access them.
And the last question, how much of this project is going into Tuscaloosa? Meaning on that corner, will there be any of the project going in, I would just basically say the park, the grass?
No,
or it's
ma'am.
going to strict?
It's all within the existing right-of-way. They're not taking any right-of-way from anybody.
So where will the arms be? The traffic arms?
Each four corners.
I'm just thinking about the base of the pole, the ones that I see. They look small until you get up on them. So you're saying that pole is going to sit on that corner?
Yes,
and
ma'am.
it won't take away from the park?
No, ma'am.
And the pedestrian, motorized, and visually everybody it'll be clear enough for them to be mobile around it?
Yes, ma'am. They have to meet those ADA standards, regardless of what they're doing there. They have to.
I just happened to look at one really hard and realize
They're big.
they're huge.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I was wondering, if you're not taking away from that curb, how will pedestrian traffic access that with that big base right there?
It'll work much better than what it does currently.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have one more question. Driving in Midtown at night, and I have a list, and I think I need to give it to you to forward. We have some streets in Midtown that are very dark. I talked to one lady, and she said that she was told by FPL, you have to call it in for the foliage, tree branches to be cut away. Because she said now people are coming in and using those dark areas to do illegal things. What is the process for lighting to be done in residential areas that does not require the big cement poles, but the regular wooden poles in residential? There are some streets you go down, if it's not for your headlights, there's no lighting. and everybody doesn't do lanterns and porch lights anymore. And I had one lady who's retired. She lives alone. And the only reason why she's complaining is because they're pulling in, doing what they do, and leave, and the lights are shining into her property.
Well, when we get a request on the street, and FP&L goes out and evaluates what's there and what would need to be done to add the lights that we would normally consider, for a residential area. So it's just a process you walk through, and if you have streets of concern, just let us know what they are.
So does a pole have to be there existing for them to do the light, or they will come in and install a pole and a light if it's needed?
If needed, they will do that. But there are lighting standards, that we abide by, try to abide by.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Simonette? Mr. Wilburn? Did I call you Dr. Jim? Okay. With that in mind, Mr. McLemore, what I would like to do is, like I say, take time to look over these here,
Sure.
and we'll come back with some questions and different things for you. Our main concern is making sure with the lighting, if I'm not mistaken, is on the priority list. That I know we'll definitely be discussing some more. That we'll be getting back with you, and I know we're working on the different plans, and I think we was also I was talking with Mr. Berger. We're trying to see what we're gonna get Florida A&M to do as far as helping design Martin Luther King. So there are some things in the works where we can speed some things up that will help you, and then that way we'll have a workshop on this for we can get it back to Mr. McLemore. But that is in the works already. They've already been trying to negotiate a contract and different things with them now. So we'll bring that up to you also.
One last time, if I could. You asked about the street markings, and they were not in good condition. We're going to go back and put those back down again.
Thank you.
And we always enjoy being with you.
And one of the things, too, that came out and was during the health walk, a lot of the same things that we have already pointed out when we did the health walk with the health department. They identified some of the exact same things that we be talking to you about.
Okay.
Also, so we've been noticed.
Good deal.
So I want to let you know that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Charles, I don't think we have too many redevelopment projects going on right now. If so, we basically already went through them. On dealing with the board priorities board, if it's okay, I'd like to move that to next month. Also, to give you a chance to make sure some things are on their list correct. So what I'm gonna do is let Charles come up at this time. I ask that Charles come up at this time and run through the list. If we're missing something, let's make sure, because I want to make sure over the summer months is a good time to workshop a lot of different things that we really need to get to us before funding comes up. So if you had a chance, go ahead, Charles.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate to the board that you do have a copy of the 2012 strategic planning priorities based upon what we did at the workshop. I pulled some of the ones that we looked at last year that we didn't get to. I put them in a packet here. I went through the list of what everybody wrote down during the workshop, and what I did is give you a copy of that tonight. And like the chairman's asked, that if you would go through that, make sure that I wrote down everything that you had listed, and get back to me if you see something that you wanted on there that's not on there. So if you would do that and get it back to me, and I'll make the corrections, and we'll have them for the next board meeting.
Okay, thank you. At this present time, we'll have obtain public comments. At this time, we'll ask you please hold your comments at least at 3 minutes or less. When you come up, please state your name for the record and address, please.
Good evening to the board. Pierre Lewis, 130 South Franklin Street.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just want to step in front of the board once again, commend you for the great work that you're doing. I always like to see a lot of action that's kind of going on, and I'm glad to see your master plan. I really hope it gets approved. But the reason I wanted to talk in front of the board was because I also had the privilege on May 2nd to participate in the health department's walkability study. And I would like to say that it's not until I drive around it, you walk about it when you're in your neighborhood, but it's not until you walk around when you're actually on a study and then you really know that you're scrutinizing and you look at some of the things that have been done in our areas and some of the things that are supposed to be done in our area, you really get a new perspective on things. So I wanted to say if my vote is to go to help or assist the board, I really commend the work that you're doing, because when you do that walkability study, you can really see that in, I would say the entire Midtown area, but in the area that we evaluated, you can really see how it's almost as though it was piecemealed together. You have signs that have regulations that are here, some signs are down here, you have those bubble maps on some areas. They explain it, there's a lot of reasons for it, but you can really see how to have a complete comprehensive plan, something like the master plan in force, we'll see it for more years. I really hope to see that it gets voted for and gets approved, because that walkability study really opens your eyes to a number of different things that are around in our particular area. And just one last note, I'm not short on time, is this: I'm not speaking for the Housing Authority, even though I work there, but one of the things that I think that we have to look at is that the misnomer, the misquote that when they were talking about the areas that it's always public housing, it's public housing complex. The way of the future and how it is today, those are mixed income developments.
Right.
So in those developments that are there, it's not as though the residents or the people that are going to be living there are subsidized completely. That is not so. You have some people that are going to be living in those newer developments, and they're going to be paying fair market value for their rents, just like any place else, just like Westwood, just like any place else. So it's not just should be called totally public housing, because it is not, and I think that's kind of incorrect. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Camille Holder, Brown, 218 Carl Brinkley Circle. I live in Pine Haven, and the children definitely play in the playground area, but they really play more so in that grassy area that we have. And I kept looking at the map to see if there was like a designated just grassy patch, because the older kids play football and soccer and stuff, and otherwise they throw it across the street in cars. I see kids in other neighborhoods kind of just playing in the street instead of having that designated area. And on like any given time you see 30 kids in the grass playing. So I think if that can be, I don't know if that's in there or not, but I just wanted to say something about that. I too went on the walkability tour, and it was very enlightening, because you don't notice that the crosswalk parts are not painted good, or that the sidewalks are, instead of being 5 feet, they're like 3 feet because the hedges is coming in your face and all these things. So I think code enforcement and a group of people should volunteer and do more walks like that. One great thing that came out of it is a lady from the school board was saying that the old Campbell property, she would probably be able to just donate that property to a nonprofit. So we were talking about, different things that we, a kind of outdoor public space that we could do in that old Campbell parking lot, in that area adjacent the old Campbell. So these are avenues that maybe we haven't thought about, but definitely a playground area, an area where some of those people that want to sell chicken and smoothies and stuff can kind of come around on the weekend, and maybe have like a little farmer's market and some of the stuff we're talking about. If we could get that land donated, it's already part of it's paved. So I was just kind of giving you guys that update. I think I'm rambling. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any other speakers? If not, Charles.
Hey, I just wanted to point out to the board that I wasn't able to walk, but I was out there with the Walkability Study and also attended the seminar. That presentation will be coming before the City Commission. I think it was a lot of positive that you'll see once you hear a lot of positive things that's going to come out of this study that shows us that we have a lot going on in Midtown and the outside of Midtown area which the walk took place. So I think I look forward. I did attend the briefing the next morning. There's a lot of positive things that's going to come out of that. Also, I give kudos to the health department for receiving that grant and for initiating it within the Midtown redevelopment area. Also, this past Saturday, we had a cleanup in Midtown area. That too came out of the health department. They're doing a lot of things in the community, Daytona Beach, not only in Midtown, but they've got they've grounded themselves, and they decided they're going to go out in the community and do some things. And they're working with the city and other entities of the city to improve the community, and that's a good thing as I see it. So we are working with them. We had about 55 volunteers that came out on Saturday morning from 9 to 12 and actually cleaned up the Midtown redevelopment area. And we had cooperation with the city. We had a Kick It to the Curb program that started the week before. We had Waste Pro that came out and picked up the bags. We had a lot of trash on the streets Saturday. So they did a great job in doing that. Also, while I'm standing, I put a flyer, everybody at the podium, remind you of the Juneteenth event that's coming forth, and actual support, not only for the banquet itself. We're going to recognize hometown heroes, but for the festival. This is the time of year that we can, our kids can come out and enjoy themselves. We have a committee that's in place that's been working hard to get the money, to get these, as you can see, a list of all the sponsors that are on the flyer. We're working hard to get them to make sponsorship contributions so we can provide this community festival. And just so happened, I've been the chair for the last 11 years of the festival. So we're looking for a new chair probably. So if y'all feel that you want to do something, see me and I'll quickly nominate you. Okay.
What night is the banquet?
The banquet is on June the 12th. It's on Tuesday night. And it's going to be at the New Cultural Center.
That's our meeting night.
Mhm.
Is that our meeting night? I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Is that our Tuesday?
We're on board comments, so I'll let you. You can go right now. No, I'm cool. I know. Just a minute.
Okay.
Just a minute. Go ahead, Ms.
Will we be receiving tickets this year?
I'll check it. I think we are sponsors, so I think we will.
Thank you, Mr. Brian.
Thank you, Fans.
Yeah, another statement.
One quick announcement. Charity Elementary School is going to be having this Friday from 4 to 7 p.m. their carnival. It's open to the community. We're going to be making smoothies. We volunteered, Midtown Eco Village volunteered for their field day along with some Bethune-Cookman students last Friday to make smoothies, and then they actually brought us back to do smoothies to give away for their carnival. In addition, there's Campbell and Charity and some other local schools. They can apply for these mini grants for gardens and smoothie bars at their schools in the amount of $2,000. So please let them know about that grant. If you have a question, you can see me. We're going to be helping to facilitate those programs at the school. It's a really a 2-page application. I already wrote up the description of the program, so it should be very easy for the principals to try to get it. Thanks.
Okay. Since we're dealing with board comments, I'm going to start with you, Mr. Webber.
Couple of things. For one, I never did get my question answered about the computer lab, and I was wondering if I'd be out of order if I would have asked Mr.
Well, what would have happened on dealing with that, because that's a private development, it basically be up to them to make sure that it's up and working. That's why I didn't go in and expound on it, because the developer itself is not here to answer those questions. When you have the Mr. Dowse is basically just the engineer,
right?
That makes sure the project. So he wouldn't really. That's a question that he really wouldn't know on who's going to make it work. So that's why, not to disrespect you, but that's why I was just, that's why I didn't bring him up to say that.
Okay. Another thing. It's just going to go back, because I was going to make a similar comment to what Mr. McMillan said. I was really in favor of the entire project. I felt a little bit pressured by Mr. Dow's comments, and I really need to go on record as saying that I felt a little bit pressured, and to me that's a little bit on the disrespectful side.
Well, I understand. And I was going to wait till the end because I was writing some things down. But since you just brought it up, and I'm going to go with Mr. McMillan too. A lot of work went into this particular project. We did it like never has been done before. And I say that to say that they came 2 months earlier. And in the meetings that were held with the TRT and staff, the commissioner, I mean, we had a meeting that I thought was only going to be an hour, was like 2.5 hours long, because everything that your concerns were echoed by myself and everybody in the room. And at some point we had to come to a medium. Now, I'll take the blame for this evening, because really I was counting the votes and miscounted, because I'm for the project also. I'm not for the way the entrance went out, but it never would have been a debacle, and those comments probably never would have been said. So as the head, I'm going to say cut the head off this time, because I made a mistake on that. But everything that you were, questions that were asked and that was said, was actually covered, except the only question that was not covered was what Dr. Jameson asked. And I think outside of that, at some point, if you answer on a list of 10 and you get 8 of them to the good, you basically got to go with the good. And when I'm sitting here looking at it, and that's why I thank each and every one of you for trusting in me to go and have meetings and try to have, because in the meeting, to let you guys know that we have already stated, and Mr. Dowse know, that's why we met again yesterday. Reed asked us to meet one more time to make sure, dealing with this project, that we have everything hashed out for we don't have these problems coming in the future. And we're making sure that when the board says something, when you come up here for a discussion, that you take it back and echo it and make sure it's done, because that's your job, is to review the site plan and to make your comments before it can get put into the plan. And therefore, like you're saying, we wouldn't have these discussions of pressure. Yeah, I think they came in time, but trust me, your voices were heard. And I know that they were heard this time, because you got a lot of changes in the site plan that we never had done before. So again, I'll take responsibility for the debacle this evening, because I am the chair. And I think when I was sitting up here doing my counting, that's probably wouldn't have been a debacle if we'd had 9. That's what's a good thing about an odd number. And I didn't read up on the rules on what happens on a tie. And I didn't know it was that it would cause a project to fail. So I take full responsibility as a chair on having something like this. But when you're sitting back looking, nobody can pressure you to vote. Let me make that perfectly clear. And that's why I made a decision to reconsider my vote, because I was the one that was sitting up here, and I've been in the meetings and know what we have already achieved that we never have achieved before. So I'm going to take that on my shoulders and on my conscience.
And respectfully, I understand meetings get difficult sometimes. That's not an issue. It was just the
We will make sure that we address that with Mr. Dowse, because in some of the meetings it was just me and Mr. Dowse, and it was, the point is across now. He knows how to come back to this board and to the community, and I thank you for your comments on that. Dr. James.
My thoughts are primarily that I approved of the project, and I was concerned about the traffic flow and everything, but my thought, the reason why I voted for it, I just want to say is, to me, it's not over yet, because traffic flow is not simply up to that development, that the city also, or county, whoever owns the road there, can also address that. So it's not over yet, okay? Even if they can't do anything, I think some can be done, because you always want to be a good neighbor. When you move in a neighborhood, you try to respect the neighbors there. So to me, it's not over with yet in terms of for Attorney Moore. So I'm good right now that we're going to get the project and still can address the issue.
Okay, oh, and then, I'm sorry. I agree.
I'm there.
Okay, Mr. Tooley.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to say is that I appreciate the fact that this was a federal funding source. And that's where the time limit comes in. Sitting on the Community Development Block Grant Advisory Board, I realized where the time limit was coming in. The other thing I wanted to say is that I think we need to start have a time limit on citizen comments, like other meetings do. Every other organization, there is a time limit on citizens' comments. And the reason I'm saying that is not to stop people from talking, but we need to stop some of the rambling, because some things are being repeated over and over and over again, and that's prolonging the meeting. The other thing I wanted to say is that we do need to begin to contact staff, and we need to read our packets before we come, so that we can address things in a timely manner. I was happy to be able to contact staff during this process to find out exactly what was going on with the Caroline issue, why we couldn't come all the way through. And after investigating some things, calling down to the school board and things like that, I did find some things are issues that we just couldn't address at this particular time, because it would have caused two projects to be going on at once, and the funding sources and things of that nature. Also, I want to thank our chairman for what he's doing, because he's got it rough, y'all. He's got to put up with us and them, okay? And he's doing a good job. I do want to say that, and we appreciate everything that he's doing. Thank the community for coming out. One of the things that I'm always mindful of is that, and this is something just personally, I believe that if people are trying to be public representatives of areas that affect Midtown, they should come and at least show some concern in the Midtown meetings. And I'll leave that right there.
Ms. McMillan.
I don't want to be repetitious, but I have no comments.
Okay. Ms. Hurd.
I just want to say that truly I was not against the project itself, the entire project. It was toned down to be rebuilt, but when we have questions and the residents and community have questions also, we should take that under consideration. Now, I know that it would be helpful if there was another exit or throughway. Take for an example, I don't like the idea that my street from South Street, Vernon Street, has been really open all the way. because to me, they use it as a getaway or a highway all the way down to Shady Place, disregarding the bumpers and all of that. But truly, I'm glad that they're going to build a place where people will have the opportunity to live decently. But my concern still is, and I guess I would call him and bug him, that I would love to know the percentage of minorities, which I explained to them before, African American blacks will be working on the project. It's in our community, and if he needs people to be recommended, I think we can recommend a whole lot of people. So thank you, Mr. Bryant. I will call him myself and question him. Also, I think I've already said that. Thank you, Mr. Ivy.
All right. Ms. Simonette.
Okay, I think we just basically want to say, I do support the project, and I think it'll be a good thing because we're probably going to find there's more people, even though he's saying it's a lot of it is going to be mixed, we probably will find more of the lower economic people who would come in, and it would be good for them. Because, I mean, when you look on Mary McLeod Bethune and on International, it's worth it. So it'll be good for them.
Thank you. With that in mind, I only have a few things. To this board, I'm going to say this. I know we're headed in the right direction, because anytime you have controversy, you head in the right direction. I understand that. One of the key things that we must keep in mind, and when we're sitting back observing different site plans, is I sit back and I look at the master plan, and I look at how we can transition with different projects. And I think since being on the board, this is one of the first times that we were really ever able to really make a change, and it's happening. So I just want to say to you, you're making a difference. Okay? Trust me. You're definitely making a difference. As we get this different material that's coming in, and I know we're just getting some of it tonight, I want you to keep in mind that staff works hard and go to a lot of different meetings during the week, during the day, and sometimes, you know, when they're on the phone and we're trying to get this consultant, trying to make sure we pull this information in, so you can get the information and make an intelligent decision. That's why you'll see me moving things out, because at least they're getting it to you, and at least you're able now to go back, decipher this information, and come back so we can discuss it. I have no problems having workshops where we can discuss this information, because believe it or not, this master plan is important to our redevelopment plan, which is important to our comprehensive plan, which is important to our land development codes. So all this information that you're currently receiving is important. And one of the goals I'm sitting back looking at is make sure that you have the information so we can make sure we meet our deadline, that the Midtown Board does not hold the city up from approving the new comp plan and the carry-on. So these are some of the things that we sitting back working on. And I've never been in so many meetings for free in my life, but I'm making them because I want to make a difference, okay? No project is a perfect project. I don't care how you look at it. It will never be a perfect project. But can we get the best? Can we ask for more? Can we demand more? Yes. And the question that each one of you asked tonight, and throughout this whole 3-month process that they came to us, I'm going to say 90% of what you asked was implemented into this site plan. So if you sit back and look at it, you made a difference. You truly made a difference. Okay, so please keep that in mind. I echo your voice. I don't sit back and not listen to what you're saying, take my notes and take it to staff or take it to these different meetings. Because believe you me, we might be smiling out here, but it's not always smiles when we're in the back room, because I fight just as hard as the same things you're saying, Ms. McMillan, that Mr. Wilborn is saying, and anybody else on this board is saying. I'm fighting for you, I'm fighting for our community, and I'm fighting for the betterment of our city. So trust me, we deserve the best, and you're giving the best. And I want y'all to understand, y'all are really giving the best for our community right now, because you're making a change. And we're having these people come because of you're asking them to come. You're asking for the information. So we want to make sure you get the information so you can ask the questions so we can get things done in our community. We make sure you look over your priority list. Please read all the information that Mr. Bryan has given us, that Mr. Berger has given us. Attorney, thank you for making sure things are done legally on this vote. Thank you for correcting me because I did not have my book tonight. So I want to thank you. I know I have it now. With that in mind, if we have no other questions or anything.
I would just like to take a minute to indicate, I think I mentioned it before, but I'm going to be more specific about all of these, to me, look like wall zone posters in Midtown. On the corner of Magnolia, that little shop there, Magnolia and MLK. And that record shop, they have the big signs in the windows now. And those are the same signs that were all down MLK, MMBB, and all over the place. My thing is, we know basically who are doing these designs. It wouldn't be hard. And I think, enough is enough, making me and us look like we live in a war zone. That's what it looks like to me. And I hope something can be done about it.
Mr. Chair.
One thing we can do is make sure we call code, and you already on it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, because they did tell us that they would trace all these concert dates, because the Coliseum, their name shows up quite a bit on these posters, and they're getting smart. I guess they're using ladders, and they're putting these signs up late at night, because where some of these signs are posted now, you have to have a ladder to put them on these poles. And I don't know if code sees them or not, but I guess the supervisor code came to us and told us that he had spoken to these nightclub managers and told them that they were going to trace them back. It's my understanding that the nightclub managers don't make the posters, but they allow the people that are hosting these events to put their name on it. So it makes you believe that the Coliseum is sponsoring the concert when it's not. It's the record shop that's putting these events together, and they advertise. So I know that came before the board, that he was going to check with the nightclub's owner about all these signs.
Mr. Chair, that code enforcement are enforcing these signs because they're the ones that are taking them down off the poles. That particular shop on Magnolia and MLK, I've been in and talked to them about it. I didn't have time today. I'm going to take pictures, forward it to code, because in redevelopment areas, they can only have 25% of that window cover. As I looked at it today, the whole window is basically covered. I was in special magistrate this morning. That issue is being addressed.
Thank you.
It's being addressed to the tune of somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000 per sign.
Pearson's grocery store.
So what we would do is, if you continue to send your complaints in to code or Charles, you'll be surprised at the amount of work that's really getting done behind the scenes. Again, I thank each and every board member for coming out. Please read your material, and I need a motion to adjourn. Thank you.